This is an introduction to Chapter 3, the imperative. We will go over this more at length in class next time, and I'll give you a handout on it, but this will serve to get us started. So the imperative is a mood, and it's a much easier mood than some of the others. When to use it is pretty easy to figure out. Our book gives us a lot of, makes a lot of fine distinctions about when to use it, but really you use the imperative when you're giving an order. And that can be any kind of order. It could be a physical order in the world, like turn to the right, go away, or it can be advice, like don't rob banks, or if you're telling somebody how to bake a cake, anything that is telling somebody how to do something or what they should be doing is when you're going to use the imperative. And if that grammar explanation is annoying to you, you can just go to English. The other way to think about when to use it is to just think about English when you give orders. So if I say a sentence like, you get up, and I identify my verb, I've got second person, let's say singular, present, indicative, active. This is an indicative sentence. I'm stating it as a fact. It's a full sentence with a subject and a verb. But if I take out the you and I just say, get up, now I have that thing that you learned in middle school, which was the you implied. I'm telling you to do something, and I'm clearly speaking to you, but I'm not saying the you. So once I don't say the you anymore, now I have the imperative. So I have second person, let's say singular, present, imperative, active. So the summary point of when do you use the imperative is any time that you're giving any kind of order to somebody. And if that's confusing to you, just think about the English sentence. If you're saying a verb in English, but you're not using that you in front of it, then you've got the imperative. There are only 3 forms for the imperative, and they're all in the present tense because you can't give an order in anything other than the present tense. You could tell somebody to do something later, but that's going to be your adverb. The form of the verb is only the present tense. So let's use a nice easy verb like rester, which means to stay. The first form that you have with an imperative is the to form. And all you have to do is conjugate it in the present tense. So take off the ER and put on the endings. Now here's something that's a little bit annoying for whatever reason. Two verbs in the, ER verbs in the to form and aller don't use the S. There is a reason for that. I'm not sure what it is, but you drop the S when you conjugate ER verbs or aller in the present tense for to. The second form that we have would be the vous form, because again, we're making commands. So the only way to make a command is to speak to other people directly. So we use the to form, we use the vous form. No weird thing here. You just conjugate rester in the present tense form for vous. The third form is one that English has as well. It's when I'm speaking to a group of people, but I'm included. So we're using a nous form here. In English, we would want to say something like, let's stay. In English, we have to make this extra verb. We have to put this let's in here and then our main verb. And French says, you don't have to do that. If you have the nous form, just conjugate the verb in the nous form, restons, and now you have the present tense form of the imperative for nous, let's stay. In English, it's 2 words. In French, it's only 1. So we have another weird little exception for the to form for ER verbs and aller. As I said up here, you drop that S on the to form, reste. It sounds the same, right? If I wrote my form wrong and put that S in there and I was just saying it, nobody would know because you can't hear the final consonant. But when you write it properly, you're supposed to drop that S. So let's take a look at aller down here. If I'm just telling you to go, my form would have an S on it, right? But that's how I conjugate aller for to. But since I'm giving an imperative, I follow the rule and I drop the S. But what happens if I'm saying go there? Here's my pronoun e, which we'll come back to a little bit later when we do the object pronouns, but it means there. So if I'm saying go there and I follow the rule and I drop my S, now I've got a problem because now I have an A and a Y and it's going to sound weird. Va, E, and I got to make that break in there because I have those 2 vowels. So French says, well, here's what we're going to do. Our stupid rule of dropping the S is causing us some problems, so why don't we put it back in if a vowel follows? And that will be the case for tu as well. If I wanted to say, buy, look at those nice oranges, buy some. Okay, well, acheter is an ER verb, so I should follow the rule and drop the S. But if I want to say some, my pronoun is going to be en. Well, I can't have that because now I have 2 vowels that follow each other. So I'm going to stick that S back in there, and now I have my liaison. So don't worry too much about which pronoun it's going to be for right now. We'll cover the pronouns much later. But when you're making an imperative, you just have to pay attention. If you have a vowel that follows your verb that dropped your E, it was an ER verb or it was aller, then you have to put that S back in there. So the imperative is a very easy conjugation because it's just the present tense. Of course, there are a couple exceptions. There are 4 irregular verbs that use a different form for the imperative. It's a form that you know, although we haven't seen it in a long time, and that is the subjunctive form. So the avoir form, then, you can't use as and avait and avant for avoir. You have to use the subjunctive form, and that's aie, ayons for the nous form, and ayez for the vous form. Être is also going to use the subjunctive, so it's going to be sois for the tu, soyons for the nous form, and soyez for the vous form. Savoir uses a subjunctive, which is sache, and sachons for the nous form, and sachez for the vous form. Vouloir is a weird one. There is a imperative for vouloir, which seems sort of odd, want. It's used as a replacement for, I guess not really a replacement, it's more like a way to make something extremely polite. It's only used in the vous form, and it is the very strange looking veuillez. We'll come back to vouloir a little bit later. You don't see it very often, but since it's an issue of politeness, and the French are quite into that, we want to be sure to at least know what it looks like. So these forms, don't let them freak you out. It's still just the imperative. It's just that if you're going to make the imperative with these verb forms, with these infinitives, you have to use this form. So let's take a look at this sentence. I am afraid. That is first person singular, present, indicative, active. I'm making a statement that I am afraid. So if I were going to say this sentence in French, remember French uses avoir for these verbs. J'ai peur. French uses the verb to have. We use the verb to be. I am afraid, so this is an indicative sentence, so I just conjugate my verb, which is avoir in this case, in the present tense, no problem. But if I'm saying to other people, be afraid, now I'm making a command. There's no subject, I'm talking to someone else, and I'm giving them an order to do something. So since I'm in the imperative, I have to remember that my verb, in this case, which is in French is avoir, is an irregular one. It uses the subjunctive. So if I were talking to one person, I would write I peur. If I'm talking to 2 people, ayez peur. So it's the same thing. It's just an imperative. It's just using the tu form or the vous form. Nothing different. It's just that these 4 verbs use the subjunctive form when you want to make the command instead of the indicative. Pronouns with the affirmative imperative. These pronouns are a little bit tricky because pronouns are always annoying in French. So when you're using the imperative, pronouns, unlike with other sentences, come after the verb. So let's take a look at this sentence. The money, you gave it to us. So I'm just asking about the money, and then I'm making an imperative statement over here. You, translated as tu, gave is our past tense, a donné, and you have to imagine there's a little accent mark here on the donné. And then the it to us, direct object, indirect object. The le here is replacing the it, and the nous here, the indirect object, is replacing the us. Fine, no problem. But when I change my indicative sentence to a command, well, now I've got a problem because I can't start with my pronoun. I can't just take the tu off, that would be nice, and just write something like le, nous, a donné. I can't do that because I don't have a pronoun, and now I can't conjugate my verb. So the French sat down for a while and thought, what are we going to do now? So what they do is break the rule for pronoun placement. They're the same pronouns, you just put them after the verb. So give it to us as an imperative. The verb is donner, and I'm speaking to a tu person, so I just conjugate donner for tu in the imperative. That's the plain old er verb, conjugate it and drop the s because it's a tu form. And then I just take my pronouns that I had up here, le and nous, and I just drop them in right after. You put a little hyphen in, you put the le, you put the nous, and then you're done. Donne le nous. And that seems so simple, so of course pronouns with the negative imperative can't be so simple. They have to move things around. If you're using a negative imperative, all the pronouns come in front of the verb, just like they did with a regular sentence. So back to our sentence here. The money, give it to us. So, donner or donne, since I used donne in the other example, let's just do that. Donne-le-nous. What if I don't want you to do that? Well, let's take a look at the regular the indicative sentence. If I just want to say the sentence, you don't give it to us. I have my tu, I have my verb, conjugated for tu in the present indicative. I have my ne over here, I have my pas over here around my verb, and then my pronouns go where they're supposed to go, right in front of the verb. Le comes before nous. If I want to make the negative command, don't give it to us. The easiest way to do that is to remember that the negative command is just like the negative sentence up here, except don't say the tu. So don't give it to us is ne, le, nous, donne pas. You have to remember to drop the s because now you're making a command form. So look at the difference. If it's a positive command, you have to do this weird, goofy, put the pronouns after. At least they stay in the same order. But you have to shift them from where they usually go, which is in front of the verb, to after the verb. If I want to take that same command idea and make it negative, all I have to do is take the regular negative sentence, the whole thing here with the tu. Tu ne le nous donne pas, and just drop the tu. Everything else stays the same, except, of course, remember to drop your s here on the verb if you have an er verb or aller. So if you look at these two sentences, you see that they're exactly the same. The only thing that's missing is that the command form doesn't use the tu. So that's not hard, it's just hard to remember that it's different from the positive command, which does this weird thing. Donne le nous, all the pronouns come after. Negative command, ne le nous donne pas, all the pronouns come in front of the verb. So since this is a mood, we have to add that into our verb identification. So stop the recording for a second, see if you can identify these verbs, and then see how you did. Number 1, as-tu peur des vampires is second person singular, present, interrogative, active, because I'm asking a question. Number 2 is first person singular, present, indicative, active, is a statement of fact. Sentence number 3, ayez peur des vampires is second person plural, present, imperative, active, because my verb over here, ayez, is conjugated in that word subjunctive. There's no pronoun, it's got to be the imperative. Number 4 is first person plural, present, imperative, active. Partons, there's no nous. If I put a nous in here, nous partons, well, now I don't have the imperative anymore. Now I have the straight indicative. I'm making a statement of fact. But as soon as I take out that pronoun, I don't have a statement of fact anymore. I just have an imperative. Number 5, both verbs are going to be in the imperative. They're both second person, singular, present, imperative, and active. So they're both the tu form. Donne is going to drop its s because there's no vowel that comes after it. Achète shouldn't really have an s on it. If we follow the rule, we're supposed to drop that s for the tu form. But because we have a vowel that follows, we're going to stick that s back in there. Your assignment for Tuesday, in addition to the other written assignment that's on Blackboard, pick any activity or any skill you know well, anything that you could explain to somebody else how to do, and do that. Explain how to do it using the imperative. Use the vous form and write at least 5 sentences. And remember, even though this is an activity meant to practice the imperative, that doesn't mean you're not in French 4 anymore. You should always be writing sentences that are as complicated as you can make them on your own using your resources, dictionaries, and your textbook. So don't make your sentences too simple. Keep pushing your vocabulary and your grammar. Use at least one of the irregulars, if you can get that in there, and then try to use at least one object pronoun. The pronouns are a little complicated, and we haven't even done the object pronouns yet, so do your best with that, and your chapter 3 in your textbook has some other examples if you need some more help with that.